I was in the fall 2018 cohort of Lava Lab. I'm also a Figma student design fellow and a senior at USC, studying arts technology and the business of innovation. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show just a little bit about why Figma makes a ton of sense to use in a lot of design and development projects, especially a lot of the projects that are going to come out of Lava Lab. And so let's jump right into it. One of the main reasons that Figma is really awesome and there's a lot of cool uses for it is the collaboration features. So first is collaborating with team members. This is one like collaborating with designers on your own team. It's a real-time collaboration tool. So think of it as like the Google Docs for design. So as you move things around, you can see other people's edits in real time. It allows you to build things in really seamless ways with lots of fun communication. And so, in addition to communicating with the designers on your team, there's also really awesome, kind of potential to communicate with the developers on your team as the designer. So Figma has a lot of kind of cool things for managing the design to development handoff. Like for example, you can see here, I just made this little square thing, and I can go here and I can go into code. Immediately, it gives me all the CSS that I need for this element and its relation to the things around it. Um, I'm not going to go too deep into kind of what everything does, but just showing that these things exist and why Figma is really great for that. Also, on the note of collaborating with other team members, it's really great as a tool for product managers to collaborate with both the designers and the developers. So actually, in my year in kind of fall 2018, I was the product manager on my team, and we used a lot of design tools to communicate our concepts, both on a product level and just kind of understanding how the features of our apps exist in a visual sense, whether that's through wireframing or whatnot. So Figma kind of like lowers these barriers between the designers and the developers and the product managers, especially when it comes to like sort of lighter things like wireframing. And I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. And so a second point of collaboration is really great at collaborating with other apps and programs. So there's a lot of existing design apps and tools, and they all have different properties and workflows. Figma is really great at bringing them all together, no matter what tool you use. So let's say you're really comfortable with using Sketch. There's a bunch of fun plugins to bring Sketch elements into Figma and whatnot. And so there's also other things that you'll kind of run across and use as a designer. Anything that you think will be helpful probably has a Figma plugin. Like for example, one of my favorites is the Unsplash plugin. If you don't know, Unsplash is kind of a library of open source photography. It's a bunch of really gorgeous photography, and you can pull from this website, but this plugin allows you to pull them right in. In addition to that, if there's not like the program that you need, creating a Figma plugin is very easy. You can make your own, especially if you know a little bit just like baseline JavaScript. Interacting with the Figma API is really easy. You can kind of hack and bend this tool to whatever you need it to be. Okay, third element of collaboration, it's really great at bringing in design systems. So that's both like working with existing design systems that have already been created in perhaps other programs or sort of like brand identity, brand guidelines, and also creating and managing your own complex design systems. Figma has a bunch of tools like styles and components to allow you to make sure that everything is aligned and creating these complex scalable systems through components. So that let's say I design a button for my app or my website, and it has been used in 100 different instances. If it's set up through a component, say I can change the color of that button, and it automatically updates across my design system in really kind of flexible and user-friendly ways. Let me just jump in and show some of the fun things that Figma can do really well through wireframing. So I'm going to go in. I just selected a new frame, and already it gives me options for like sizes and templates. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pull in iPhone 11 Pro size. So I've got my frame over here. I, I hesitate every time when I say frame because I'm so used to saying artboards, like the Adobe programs, but it wasn't until I started uh, working at Figma that I got corrected very frequently. It was like these are frames and not artboards, and you'll see the difference in a second. In this frame that's in the size of an iPhone 11, I'm going to show off some of the fun things that Figma can do through creating a wireframe of sort of our project that we made in Lava Lab my year. And so I'm not going to get too deep into like what we made, but one of the things that we talked about making was a sort of a music suggestion platform. Think of like the Spotify suggested for you page. And so let's create something like that. So where do we start, right? So this is a totally blank screen. Where I always start with wireframing is pulling in a lot of components, a lot of assets just to slap on the screen really quickly. And so the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to hop over to another file, and I'm going to explain how to get to this. So you can see here I've got the material design theme kit. I'm going to hop over. What this is Google's design language that they've created. It is open source and it has a lot of detail built into it and a lot of versatility, which makes it really nice for wireframing. I highly recommend, if you're not familiar with Google's material design, going to their website, Googling it, poking around, reading all the articles that are written about it. But you can kind of see how they've established this design language, how all these things work together and all these components fit together. So the file itself that I'm looking at right here is a file that is publicly available. If you just Google like material design kit Figma file, you're going to find it. If you click on it, it'll make a copy. And the beauty of this is that it has a ton of components already within it in this like kind of Google material design style. Like everything you could possibly think of that would exist within the functionality of an app. And so this is all in here. And so the best part about these is that they're actually saved in Figma as components. So like if I click on this, it's got this little purple outline here. What that means is that it is a component in that it can be used and translated across all elements of the app. And if I go and I edit something like this, if I turn this from white to like blue, every instance of this element will be updated. So you can see that you can go to your assets. So I've got like layers up here. This is what I've been looking at, poking around. I'm going to go to assets, and then you can see I've got my master components, and these are all of the components that exist within this file where they've got icons and menus, and I can go in and pull these out and slap them on whatever I'm working on. So I actually want to take all of these and move them to my file over here. So we're going to start playing around with them. So I'm actually going to go here. So these are my pages over here. And I'm going to go to master components. I'm actually going to take all of these. I'm going to do Command A to select all of them. Command C to copy them. And then I'm going to go over to my page, or go over to my project, drop down my pages. I'm going to make a new page, very similar to theirs. I'm just going to call it components. And then I'm going to press Command V to paste in here. So it's going to take a second because it's a lot of elements. And honestly, I don't know if there's like a faster way to do this. There might be. You might be able to append a whole page or a whole library of components. But this is just the way that I've kind of learned how to do it. So copy and paste it, and then bam, now I've got all of these components in here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my page where I have my wireframe now. And now when I'm working on this, I can go to my assets tab, and I have everything. I have everything I need in here. So let's just start slapping things on here to wireframe it out. Like, let's say that me as the designer or the product manager or the developer, I've got this concept that I want to see. Like maybe I got this idea in my head. I want to see this top app bar up here. And because it's like a music suggestion page, I want these cards to have like an album cover and text and like a description about the songs. And I want that I can like slide across. So let's just get that down there as soon as possible. So what I'm going to do, so I've got this. I'm going to go to my app bar, click that drop down, app bar, top app bar. I just want to put something up there just to kind of like anchor it. So top app bar, click that down, and then let's see, top app bar regular, and then top app bar. I think this one says raised. Yeah, that's what I want. So top app bar raised. You see, you got option color, no color. I'm gonna just drag that right in there. Perfect. Align it. I'm gonna drag this out just to fit the width. And then I'm just gonna rename the headline. What is this? Music for you. That's what we're gonna call it. Cool. Okay. So now we've got this in there. Easy, just like drag and drop. Now I'm going to show off kind of, I think my favorite feature in Figma is the auto layout feature. So what I want, let's see, what am I going to put in here? So this is a song page, so I'm going to put the song needs a title, and then the song also needs a description. So what I'm doing, I'm pressing T to open up my text, just pressing on my board and typing it. So I'm going to type in title, description, and then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to take this. I'm going to make this 18 points. I'm going to make my description 14 points. Change this from medium, change this to light. Truly, this stuff does not matter a whole ton. I'm just wireframing. I'm just trying to get these ideas out in a way that I can share and describe them. Okay, so title, description. I'm just going to put some stuff in this description just so it like visually fills up the space that I want it to see. So I'm gonna be like the song description goes here, and we chose this song for you, and I hope you like it. You see it's overlapping here. I'm just gonna grab this, just gonna bring it back. There's a couple of resizing options. If it doesn't resize the way that you think it's going to, or the way you want it to go to, you can play around with these. This just changes. Right now, it's like in this text box. It's overlapping to the next line. Yeah, okay, so we've got a description there. Now, I also want like description tags of sorts. So you're gonna see what I mean in a second. So let's say this kind of system recommends a song for someone. I wanted to have these kind of like defining tags so you can look at it and sort of instantly understand what you're looking at. So I'm going to type in like things that would categorize it, not just by genre, but by other more, I guess, harder to pin down elements. So it's let's say, so this song I have in my head that we're recommending, let's say this is like an EDM song, and then we're going to add these other tags in a second, but I'm going to start building out these tags. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start showing the auto layout feature. So I'm going to click on this. First, we're going to change this from light to regular to give it some more width. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to activate the auto layout. Here, let me go to my layers so you can kind of see what we're looking at here. So I've got this text selected right here. I'm going to press Shift A, and what that did, you see auto layout added. What auto layout does is it adds a set of like rules or constraints that allows you to work with the elements that you design in really interesting ways. So you can see here now, instead of this box fitting just around my text, it bumps out just a little bit. So you can see here it's added some horizontal and vertical padding of 10 points, and also 10 points of spacing between the items. And we'll play with that in a second. So I'm just going to give this some more contrast so it pops out. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to put a fill in, and it's going to fill in this area that we've selected. So this is frame 1, this is the auto layout frame. So I'm going to select this, maybe make it a little more gray because it's just a wireframe. It's too sharp right now, so I'm going to change the border radius to 8. So what I did actually, I just hovered over that little like corner radius thing and dragged it. Okay, cool. So now I've got this tag thing here. The padding on the top and the bottom is a little too much for me, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to drag this down to like 6. Okay, cool. That feels a little bit better. And now I want a couple of these. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to activate this auto layout again. So I'm actually going to select this thing. I'm going to press Shift A again. And so now it's expanded the border even more. So if you look at my frame hierarchy, you kind of see what's going on. So I've got this text in an auto layout frame inside another auto layout frame. And so what this allows me to do is start laying out these elements that I have created. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click in here, I'm going to select this item, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to press Command D. So I'm duplicating this frame 1 right here. So Command D, and it's added another one. And what it has done is it's followed these rules and these constraints that I've given. So I'm going to click on my top frame. We can see that. So this is giving a padding for the horizontal and the vertical of 10 points, but it's also giving the spacing of 10 points. So if I increase that or decrease that, you can see kind of how it's responding here. I'm going to keep that at 10 because I think that looks good. And I'm going to go in. I'm going to press Command D a few more times to duplicate it. And so if we look at it here, this is not exactly what I want because it's going vertically. I can just change this, make it go horizontal. Bam, perfect. That works better. And then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to click these. I'm going to update these. And you're going to see as I start typing text, the size automatically updates. So I want other descriptors of songs. So let's say it's an EDM song. I don't know. Let's put a mood. So it's an EDM song. It's sad. I don't know. Let's see. People group like by an instrument. So it would have it's a saxophone. I don't know what this song is, so if you know a song like this, let me know. So it's EDM, sad, and saxophone, and let's say it came out in 2020. Okay, cool. So we've got these kind of 4 tags. I like these. One thing I'm going to do is that I click on this. I see my auto layout frame actually is putting this padding still on top, bottom, left, and right. I don't need that because I actually want these to align on the left. So I'm actually going to get rid of the padding horizontally. So I'm just going to get rid of that, and you can see it kind of squishes in. I'm going to get rid of the padding vertically. Technically, I don't really need to do that, but just so it won't run into problems later. Okay, cool. So now I've got these frames. They're all locked in this nice little box. I want to align all of these elements right here. So I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to do another auto layout frame. So I'm going to press Shift A, and we see what happens. Okay, cool. So a couple things happened. One, it even out the space between these 3 elements, and it's moved this thing to the center. That is because it is center aligned. I'm going to click left align. Perfect. Now these things are all left aligned. They're all a little too far away from each other right now, so I'm just going to scoot this in. Sure, that's fine. And okay, so I've got this thing, and I'm building out this card. What I need in this, I need a album cover. I need an album cover that will display for this song. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go into my assets, and I need like an image icon. So you can scroll down here. I've got images. I'm going to grab a 1:1 image as far as aspect ratio goes, kind of like a square album cover. So I'm going to drag this in, and now this is part of my file. So I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to hover over my auto layout frame, and you see what's already happening right now. So it's actually like highlighting where this is going to go. I want this to go on the top, so I'm going to drag it right here, and cool, perfect. This is positionally where I want it to be. So now I'm going to expand it out just to match the size of the frame. There's 2 ways of doing this. I could grab the corner, I could expand it out and hold Shift to lock its properties as I scale, or I can press the K key on my keyboard. You can see my cursor moved from kind of the default movement drag tool to the scale tool, the proportional scale tool. So if I press V, this is my default tool, and K is my scale tool. So I'm going to click K and expand it out. It's actually going to auto lock in to where I need it. Sure, this is fine for right now. I'm going to take this whole thing and drag it up here, because this is my auto layout frame. I want to make this feel more like a card, so I'm going to pop it out from the background a little bit. So I'm going to press Shift A again, so it's added another auto layout frame, and that's going to make sense in a second. So now for this whole auto layout frame, I am going to give this a little bit of a fill. I'm not sure what color to give it. I'm going to give it like a little like I don't know, like a light gray, just to show that it's like its own separate frame. Again, uh, just gonna increase this corner radius. I'm gonna set it to 8 just so it matches these little guys down here. And then just give it a drop shadow just so it feels separated from the background. Um, yeah, truly just don't worry too much about like the small details. It's just kind of wireframing, so we're just kind of giving a feel for what these things feel like. Okay, cool. So we got this little card thing. It's popped out from the background. It is in its own frame. And so let's say I like this. I like the look of this card. So I'm going to save it as my component. So you saw that little thing up there. I pressed create component. And so now it's currently named frame 6, but I'm going to call this music card. And so what this is, now this is a core element of my design. I can go in as I make edits to this. It will also edit all of the instances that I create of this. So let's see, I'm going to press Command D to duplicate it. And so now I've got a couple of these. And so I think, if I go in, I'm going to go in, let's say I want this title. I need this title to be white. And you can see how it edits the children. So it just kind of shows you can make these complex design systems and then edit them. Okay, so for what I want for this, I actually want this to be able to scroll horizontally. See how I've got it laid out here? I want to be able to swipe my finger along and sort of like browse the song suggestions that pop up. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to take this, make another auto layout frame. So I'm going to press Shift A. So now I've got this sort of border around here. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put these cards in here. And so if I can see here, it's going to add this padding horizontally and vertically and space them out by 10 points. So I should be able to take these and I should be able to drag them, first drag them onto my frame, and then I'm going to drag them into my auto layout right here. And so you see it is actually populating in here. There's an easy way to do this. So I'm going to delete this one. I'm just going to select my main card and press Command D to duplicate it. And so you can see here, it is adding these cards, even though we can't see them. Okay, so right now what's happening is that we've got this frame with all our cards within it, but we can't actually see these elements. That is because of the way that auto layout frames work. It is reading that it is fully nested inside this, our big board. So in order to view this as a scrollable object, you actually need to put this within a smaller frame that fits inside here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press Command Option G, and that has put everything I've selected here inside this higher frame, frame 7 right here. I'm going to press V to go back to a normal drag tool. I'm going to drag the size just so that it fits within the artboard. So now what it's reading as is that these elements are all inside this frame, and these kind of overflow here. This is important for the prototyping feature to understand that when these elements overflow, I want you to be able to scroll through them. So we're going to see that in a second. So I'm going to go to prototype with this frame 7 still selected. When it says overflow behavior, I'm going to change that from no scrolling to horizontal scrolling, which is exactly what I want. And then just to keep it all organized, I'm going to call it music scroll bar. Perfect. Okay, cool. I think now if we've set everything up right, we should be able to go into this sort of like preview mode and view what we've created and drag it around now that we've set up all those properties. So I'm going to click present. I'm going to see what's going to happen. Not this page. It'll show you whatever artboard it reads as like first in the file. So I'm going to click next. Oh, not that one either. Okay, cool. So this is what we made. And you can see here, we can actually drag it. This is because we set up the overflow properties, and we can scroll through and sort of view and play around with our prototype. So this is something we slapped together really quickly. We can scale it and build it. I hope this was giving you a little like quick taste into Figma, and you can see how powerful it is. I highly recommend poke around on the Figma website. Lots of great tutorials, and feel free to message me, ask me any questions. I know this was kind of a mishmash tutorial, exposure things of sorts. Um, but I'm happy to explain anything more in depth. Yeah. So thank you. Good luck using the tool, and have a good time. All right. Bye.